You've probably heard it before. The central bank is printing money. But what does that actually mean? Are there printing presses running all night? Or is it just numbers on a screen? The truth is, money creation today doesn't start in a factory. It starts with a keyboard. Let's break down how central banks really create money and why it matters more than ever. To understand how money is created, let's start with what a central bank actually is. It's the bank of all banks, the institution that provides reserves to commercial banks and controls the money supply of the entire economy. When you and I deposit money at our bank, we see balances in our account. When banks deposit money, they do it at the central bank, in what's called reserves. These reserves are the raw material of the financial system, and that's what central banks can literally create from thin air. So how do they do it? Imagine the economy is slowing down. The central bank wants to inject liquidity to make it easier for banks to lend and markets to function. Here's the move. It buys assets, usually government bonds, from commercial banks or investors. Let's say the central bank buys 1 billion pounds of bonds from a bank. The bank gives up the bonds, and the central bank simply credits the bank's account at the central bank with 1 billion pounds in new reserves. No one's taxes went up. No one had to borrow first. New money just entered the financial system, digitally. That's how central banks create money. This is called monetary policy transmission, and it's how the central bank influences everything from mortgage rates to stock prices. But there's a catch. Most of that money doesn't flow directly into the real economy. It first goes into financial markets. That's why you often see asset prices rising when central banks create money, even before wages or jobs improve. That's why central banks constantly walk a tightrope, stimulating growth without letting prices spiral out of control. The 2008 crisis, the 2020 pandemic, and even the recent inflation surge, all of them showed how much central banks can shape the economy with just one click. So next time you hear someone say the Fed is printing money, remember, it's not paper they're printing, it's reserves they're creating. And behind those reserves lies the entire modern economy, built on trust, policy, and a few keystrokes. If you like this breakdown of how money is created, you'll love my next one, on how central banks destroy money. Subscribe to Banking Stuff to make sense of what really drives finance.